Welcome to The Women We Know. I'm your host, Stacey Ferguson, and this podcast is all about real conversations with the women in our lives who have stories worth sharing. Not the polished highlight reels, but the real moments, the challenges, the turning points, the courage, the growth, and the wisdom that comes from living a full life. My hope is that somewhere in these conversations, you'll hear something that reminds you that you're not alone and that the women around us are far more extraordinary than we sometimes realize. So wherever you are listening from, settle in, because these are the stories of the women we know. Welcome back to the Women We Know, and welcome to Season 2. There's something about starting a new season that feels a little bit like turning the page. Same intention, but deeper, clearer, and quite possibly a little more raw. I am so internally grateful for every single one of you that have tuned in, hit follow, shared, or sent me beautiful, heartfelt messages sharing what this podcast has meant for you. It really warms my entire soul, and I couldn't be more inspired to bring more of what you guys loved last season to your ears this season. So thank you. It really means the world. When I started planning Season 2, I couldn't think of a more perfect woman to begin with than the beautiful Bec Beetham. Bec is a mum of 4, a wife, a social work student, and someone who is doing an incredible job of holding a lot of moving parts together. What I've come to really see is the depth of who she is underneath it all. She isn't just someone I admire. She is someone who has been part of my life for a really long time now, over 20 years in fact. Before we get into it, I want to take you on a little trip down memory lane. Bec and I met back when we were barely adults. Bec was working as a governess for a beautiful local family, and I was living in town. And honestly, I still fully don't know why, and I always giggle at how far we've come since then, because at the start I wasn't a fan. Bec was loud, she was hilarious, she was confident, she was cool, but I couldn't see any of that. I remember vividly walking into my dad's place one night, just like a normal Friday night. He had the guitar out, and Bec was this newbie in town, and she was singing with him, doing an incredible job, mind you, but I was like, what? That's my dad. And I usually sing with him, but she didn't know that. How could she? So I think jealousy might have been one of the first things that I felt. But then I let it blur my opinion of her. Luckily, in a small town, though, we have other opportunities to be in the same place at the same time. And also lucky that I allowed myself to get out of my own way and see what she was all about. It turns out we were really quite similar, and after a few more run-ins, we were belly laughing with each other and just had this connection and ease of being around each other. Also, love belting out any song that we heard together. Over the years, life took us in different directions. Bec moved away, started her family. I stayed in Aramac and grew mine. We stayed in touch in those in-between ways. She stood beside me as a bridesmaid at my wedding, and we've always kind of just found our way back to each other. A few years ago, Bec invited me to her 40th, and I knew I just had to be there. I am so glad that I went. From the day we've grown our friendship into an even deeper level, Bec had seen this video on Instagram called Waffle Wednesday. And if you don't know what it is, I encourage you to look it up. It's just about friends keeping touch, sending weekly videos, reporting all their life's happenings, the mundane, the exciting, the everyday stuff that we often forget about if we haven't spoken for some time. Anyway, Bec sent me this message asking if we wanted to do it. And of course, I jumped in at the chance to ramble away. And Bec can attest to that. I ramble. So does she, though. But since then, something has shifted, and we realized that we were going through very similar things in our life, just approaching them differently. Our weekly waffles turned into almost daily notes. Bec is one of the few people that really truly know me, and she's one of those friends that will have your back no matter what, ask questions later kind of friend. Before starting this podcast, I had this realization that the women we sometimes think that are just living normal lives are actually carrying the most depth, the most growth, the most quiet strength, and Bec is one of those women. She's a mum of 4, she's studying, she works part-time, she's showing up for her family every single day, and at the same time, she's doing the really hard, unseen work of figuring out who she is outside of everyone else. And I think that that really matters. I think that that's really worth talking about, and I think that that's really worth hearing. So, Bec, I am really, really, really glad that you're here. And before we dive into anything, I like to keep the tradition alive and from last season because I love it too much to let it go. So what is your go-to karaoke song?
Well, firstly, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I feel like
you're welcome.
It kind of turned into a bit of a waffle perhaps, but that's cool. So I'm like, stop talking so much about me. I feel like the karaoke question, like I feel like everybody says, oh, that's a really difficult question because, trying to choose or can't think of something. But I feel like for us, it's different because like every song is a karaoke song. How could you not?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like anytime we're together, it just turns into a karaoke bar, whether there is a karaoke bar there or not.
Start the catalogue at A and we'll just go through.
Right.
A to Z.
Yeah, just let us go. Probably, though, I feel like one that seems to happen every time is The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Yes.
I feel like that's just like the staple classic. And you must do the instrumental mimes as well.
Oh, of course. I always love the dance moves that you bring when you're singing karaoke. It makes the whole experience like you have to see it, not just listen to it. You have to see it.
I feel like I best. Need to do the whole show. Yeah.
And you're the whole band. You've got the fiddle out.
I am the band. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. I've got like so many vivid memories of different places of you singing that song. It's just so great. I love it.
That is my karaoke classic then.
Yeah. I've got like a montage happening in my brain right now.
Probably a lot of people do actually. I don't know if that's good or bad now.
No, it's definitely good. Oh, God. All right. Well, now that I've rambled on for long enough and that intro was one of the longest intros I've done, for anyone listening who doesn't know you yet, I've shared how I know you and how we met, but can you tell us a little bit about who you are in your own words?
I feel like you pretty much covered everything. But like you said, I'm a mum. I have 4 primary school age kids, part-time studying, part-time working, full-time extracurricular activity organiser. Like a lot of mums, I'm just trying to do all of the things all of the time and trying my best to do them well. Yeah.
And you are doing a great job.
Some days yes, some days no, but that's okay.
I love hearing like, what you describe yourself as, and I think that it's kind of, I don't know, it's really interesting, but you don't express how much you hold. And I know that we always tell each other, especially if we're having a bad day or kind of being really hard on ourselves, that we wish that we could see each other through each other's eyes. And you're all of those things.
It is lovely to hear you. Yeah, sorry. It is lovely to hear you give me that intro and say all of those beautiful things, because it is those things that we rarely say to ourselves or rarely find it okay to say or think about ourselves. So it is actually really beautiful to hear somebody else say those things about you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be hard too sometimes. And I think that's the beauty of this podcast, is allowing yourself to be celebrated. So thank you for allowing me to celebrate you. And
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Seriously, it is. I still am finding it hard to believe that I am worthy of it, but then I feel like that's so many women have those same thoughts too. So why not put myself out there and just make it a thing that let's just do it.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And thank you for sharing that and paving that way for other women who might be sitting there going, oh my God, I could never do that. Yes, you can.
You can. You just have to press the button and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And hope for the best.
Yeah. Oh dear. Like we can always press stop, right?
Yes, exactly. And then you said to me, it's not live. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This is good. We can do this.
Exactly. So thank you for that. And I love hearing that, the uncomfortableness, but kind of pushing through that. And I think that's got to do with a lot of the growth that you've gone through, especially in the last kind of few years. And we've spoken a bit about you kind of feeling like you're emerging from a cocoon, and I can't help but picture this. I'm very visual tonight. I don't know what's going on, but I can't help but picture this beautiful butterfly spreading her wings. And tell me, what does it feel like for you right now, kind of the season that you're in, emerging from a cocoon, or however you'd like to, share it?
Like, the emerging from the cocoon thing, I don't know, I kind of more pictured it, like the very hungry caterpillar, like he was eating a lot, not much was going on, and then he kind of was just like, oh, I'm actually full now, and that's it, I'm going to shut myself away. I feel like that's kind of what happened to me. There was so much going on in life, and when everything just builds up and you kind of, for a time, you can manage just to like shove it under the rug or, like jam it away in the cupboard, that sort of thing mentally, until you get to a point where like that cupboard is full and there is no way that you are going to be able to shove anything in there. And then it just springs open and then all of this stuff comes out.
Yeah.
I kind of got to that point mentally where I literally could not shove anything into a corner or under a rug. And it finally became time after 20-something years to start actually dealing with my stuff instead of pretending that it didn't exist. And so I feel like that is the point where I wrapped myself in the cocoon and just thought like, oh, I've got a lot of work to do here. And I don't necessarily need anybody to witness it or experience it with me. But yeah, I've got some changes that need making.
Yeah. And during that time where you're kind of like, I've got the changes, I want to wrap myself up and I need to do some work, what did you find kind of helped you the most?
So for me, it was booking in and seeing a psychologist, because like I've done study, I'm doing the social work study, I've done study in counselling. So I had all of that theoretical stuff in the back of my mind, and, I was learning how to help other people through challenges in life until I got to the point where I was like, ooh, yeah, I really need to work some of this stuff out. And at that point, I just kind of knew that psychology and that therapy was going to be for me. Well, to be fair, I didn't actually know that it was going to be for me, but I wanted to give it a go. Because at that point, there was really no other option for me that was apparent to me,
Yeah. So what was that feeling like when you were in that cocoon and you kind of felt like you needed to lock yourself away from everything you got too much going on? What was that feeling like? That kind of that pushed you to that point to say, I need to talk to someone, or I need to, I need some help.
It was just like complete overwhelm. Like, sensory overload and all of like being touched out. Like when you've got kids, and even when you don't have kids, like you get to that point in your day where you just cannot handle another noise. You don't want anybody talking to you. You don't want to look at anyone. You don't, you can't make a decision because your brain is just so fatigued from being switched on all day long. It was like that, but it was like that on crack. I could not turn my brain off. I couldn't focus. I couldn't make a decision. I was just so completely overwhelmed with everything. It was like a really
burnout.
Yeah, complete burnout. It was really like a kind of like a crashing down moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I I know from conversations, and you often speak about being someone who shows up for other people and being the person that people come to. And I recall you kind of saying that you would stay awake worried about other people's problems instead of your own, like not instead of your own, but along with your own. You're the helper. What point did you realize that it was starting to come at a cost to you? And was there a moment that you kind of thought, I actually can't keep doing this the way that I have been? Because I know a lot of women have been there, and they'll hear this. I know I've been there myself, just being the one that holds space for everyone else and not realizing how much you're actually carrying until it kind of is too much. Like that saying, like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, what did that look like for you? Was that entwined in all of this as well, or was that a moment that came later where you're like, actually, I'm carrying too much. I need to do whatever.
That was absolutely part of it. That was maybe not so much the straw that broke the camel's back, like you said, but it was that had a huge impact on where I was in that exact moment as well. And like you say, I feel like I'm just a helper by nature. I feel like I'm that person that people feel comfortable sharing things with. And just as part of my nature, it's not, I don't feel obliged, but it is, I don't know. It's just my makeup that when someone wants to chat to me, I want to be that person who can sit down and chat with them and help them through whatever struggle they might be having, you know what I mean? Or even just being a person that they can talk to and I can say, you know what, like that really sucks. And I'm like, it's really awful that you're experiencing that. And for the most part, I feel like that's in itself is not something that I can't deal with. But when it comes to perhaps people taking advantage of that a little bit, taking advantage might not be the right way to describe it either, but perhaps not realising how deeply that affects me as well. Like you say, I would get messages from friends late at night, with a problem that they were having, and then that would keep me awake for the rest of the night, wondering how they were going to deal with that, what was going to happen next for them, and that sort of thing, but then rarely getting much back out of it. So I was giving and not really getting much back. But in saying that also, that's kind of a part of my nature as well, because it's also in me to be a perfectionist and to not show weakness and to not let people know that, I'm also having a hard time, or that, my life isn't perfect. I'm not, I have liked up until this point for people to see me as someone who's got it all together all the time. I can handle whatever life throws at me and I'm doing it well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think that that wanting to be seen as someone who's kind of got it together, or wanting to be liked even, do you ever feel like you're kind of performing a version of yourself that like you were showing up in a way that you thought maybe people wanted to see you? Or do you think that kind of helped, like molded the way that you were showing up, and that then added on to the weight that you were carrying around?
Yes, 100%. I have, through therapy, realised that not 100%, but a good part of me was always, it had a lovely facade. And I think a lot of it, now that I can look back and recognise it, a lot of that was showmanship, because I didn't want people to not like me. I had the fear of being rejected. I had the fear of, failure and all of that sort of thing. So I had a big bravado going on, but at the same time, tucked away down in there was just a anxious, scared little girl who wanted everyone to like her. So whilst it is in my personality to be that big, brash, loud girl that you walked in and saw at your dad's house that night, that also it was not necessarily the authentic me, the 100% authentic me, because, and like in that exact moment that you mentioned, I was there, I was new in town, everybody else knew each other, I was the new girl, I had to make sure that people liked me. You know what I mean? Like I had to make sure that I was this, and that people saw this fun, loving, you know, loud party girl, because that's what I thought, that's what I thought that those people wanted.
I just had this
I wasn't that, but you know.
Yeah. But I just had this like aha kind of like drop moment where I was like, well, maybe that's why I didn't like you, because I'm like this fake bitch. Maybe. Like I'm like, maybe I just seen right through you.
Perhaps.
Not
and,
right through you, because
no. But now that we know what we know, potentially maybe that was the reason.
And without knowing, because I'm always kind of like, oh, maybe it was jealousy, and that I still do think that definitely was a thing. Like you were singing with my dad, and you were just loving life, you know. And I was like, hey, hang on a minute, that's what I usually do with Dad on a Friday night, you know. But then maybe there was just this little bit of this, and until I got to know you really, and the real you that wasn't putting on that facade, I guess that. We could have like a real belly laugh together and a real conversation, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe.
Yeah, and it's like I say, like it's not like I wasn't enjoying myself. It's not like all of that was forced or fake. Like that was. Yeah. I had, you know, like that's not what I'm saying.
No.
But it's just
just animated, like just a little bit
that's
extra.
Right. And that for me took a lot of effort. And so I would go home after that and, you know, like my social battery would be low because I've just spent all of this time making sure I've had the best time. Yes, and so then comes the trough after that peak that you just sort of have to plough through again.
Yeah.
I know, I'm making it out like it was a terrible time and I was, you know, awfully unhappy, but that's not how it was. So,
yeah. I know exactly, and I hope that listeners understand that that's, you know, your intention, or what you're saying. They're picking up what you're putting down, you know.
Yeah, I hope they're picking up what
I think so, because I don't think that it sounds like you've had a horrible life or anything like that. But
absolutely not.
I get sometimes you just put on different masks, and it's not like you said. It's not like you're not having fun or anything like that. But it's just a way of showing up in a way so you are liked, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it was, rather than being forced or fake, I think it was more of just like an over amplification of my genuine feelings, if that makes sense. You know, like I was having a great time, but like let's make sure everyone knows I'm having a great time and everyone knows how fun I am, so that I'll be popular, but that I will make friends here and that I will be okay.
Yeah. And in the moment, that's not what you were actually thinking. It's just on reflection now, kind of looking back going, oh, okay, that's why I acted like that, or that's why I done that. And I think that it even, I don't know, it takes a lot of courage to have that awareness even. And I think that sometimes when we do this work, we forget how significant what you then choose to kind of reflect on or move through is. So when you noticed that you were carrying so much and you were the person that everyone was coming to, and not that it was ever a bad thing or anything like that, or that wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back, but it was just something that was adding to your pile of everything else that you had on, or adding to that cupboard like you mentioned. Did you draw a line in the sand then and there when you realised that, or did you have boundaries, or did you decide to step away from certain people, or was it even just showing up differently, so then maybe people didn't feel so inclined to share with you?
Yeah, I feel like it literally was just get in the cocoon. Just get in there and get away from everyone. Get in the bag. Because I was at that point where, like I was saying before, everything was just too overwhelming. And so at that point, I pretty much just shut myself off from the world. I just went full hermit And I basically did the jobs I needed to do, and I went to my psychologist, and probably for a couple of months that was just what I was doing, because it went from that camel's back moment, and then from there I was really fortunate to get in to see a beautiful lady pretty much straight away. And so it went from like that complete overwhelm into working with her, and then working on the things that we were talking about. So it was, for me, it was this really intensive time of just really focusing on myself for the first time in I don't know how long, and literally just focusing on myself and how I could now, instead of helping everybody else, how can I help myself?
Yeah, and it comes back to that kind of pouring out of your own cup, like filling your own cup. That's right. Before you pour out to other people.
100%. Mine was bone dry, and I had to just go right back to the start to even, and like still now, I'm still like, this is 18 months later or something, I'm still trying to work out exactly how my cup does get filled. What are the things that fill my cup?
Yeah.
But I think the difference now is that I'm actively working on figuring that out, rather than just sitting there with the cup being like, well, why is it not filling up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is it so
empty?
I could go and, relax for a bit. And it was like, well, that's cool, but how do I relax? I took myself to the beach one day. All the kids went to school. I took myself to the beach, and I sat on the beach, and I had a book to read. And I literally sat there for like 10 minutes, and I was just like, it felt so foreign to me that it was just too weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting that, when we haven't done it for so long, and then something that we think, oh yeah, this will be so nice. And we might have even made that up in our mind of what we think will fill our cup up. And maybe it will, but it just is so, like you said, foreign, and it takes us to build that muscle back up to be okay with it. Like, yeah. I remember when I first started doing that, and I would feel guilty that not guilty that I was, because I would remind myself that I was there to relax, but I would be more like, I could be doing this or I could be doing that. And then it kind of took me a minute to go, oh, actually, this isn't what's filling my cup.
Yeah. Actually, this wasn't what I needed. Like, I thought it might have been, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things is, like, as an adult, is trying to figure out what do I enjoy? Like, when you've been, like you've spent your life building a career or raising children or both, like any of those things that we do as adults, and then all of a sudden you have this time, or you create this time, and it's really hard, because what do I actually like?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that's how it feels to me anyway. I don't know. Maybe people are thinking, what are you, crazy woman?
No, I definitely agree. And I'm sure there are many other women out there that agree as well, when they're given that time and they can actually, they talk about the empty nest syndrome, when your kids leave home and stuff, because women don't actually make time for themselves when their kids are still at home. So then when their kids leave home, they're like, oh, who even am I? Or what do I enjoy doing? And so I think that it's such a powerful place to be right now, to kind of be aware of that, and what do I actually like now before our kids leave, and we're like, oh my God, like we're kind of maybe a little bit getting ahead of the time.
Yeah, maybe.
It can be so uncomfortable trying to work that out, and sometimes a little bit weird, and you're like, oh, actually, I don't like that, or I do like that, or, and it's just, but it's where all the growth happens. And I think that the kind of not knowing fully who you are, or not knowing yourself, I don't know, I feel like it's just it's like an invitation to go, okay, well, come on, let's figure it out. And there's no right or wrong, because we're all different. And I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool place to be at, and I think
you're right. Yeah, it's and I guess it's the emerging from the cocoon, isn't it? It's coming out and having a look at yourself and being like, oh, okay, this is what we are now. I'm not the big fat hungry caterpillar anymore.
Yeah, way to circle back for that. Thank you.
I know, right? I know what I'm doing here.
that is so right. And I just, I love that that's where you are right now, and how, we've kind of just done full circle. And I admire your truth in all of that, and I admire how now you're at that place where you kind of know when to say, no, that's not for me, or, like, I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. So I just wanted to celebrate you for that. And,
I think
I want to move on.
To be honest, sorry.
Keep going.
It actually feels really good. Like, to be able now to not feel like I have to say yes to things, or not feel like I must immediately respond to that message, or, I must go out of my way to make sure that person knows that I'm going to help them, or it just feels really, I feel much lighter.
Yeah, and to know, the world's actually not going to come crashing down around me if I say no to a person,
absolutely,
or,
absolutely.
or be
and
okay that if...
Yeah, it's that building of the confidence where I can just say, actually, no, I'm good. I don't need to do that. And it doesn't affect me. I don't lose any sleep over it. That's the decision that I'm making for myself. And, it's cool.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that by doing that now, you're kind of... this takes me into my next kind of topic that I wanted to talk to you about, was motherhood. And I think that making these decisions for yourself now, I mean, you've got 3 daughters and a son, and it's kind of giving them permission, watching you, to be able to then give themselves permissions when they're older to be able to say no, and just be authentically themselves. And I know that being a mum is something that you've always wanted, and when you were younger, you're kind of like living your dream life now, and I think that that's really cool. What do you think, apart from it paving the way now and all of that sort of stuff, what do you think motherhood has really taught you about yourself?
That I was always crazy. No, motherhood has taught me a lot of things, but probably one of the most important things I think that I have got my head around, like, and it's taken a little while, but is that there isn't always a right and a wrong way to do it. And motherhood doesn't come with a manual. There's no checklist that we go through. Okay, great, my baby did this. Or, okay, I reacted like that. It's to me, it's about doing the best you can with what you have. And when I think about it like that, it's, like I was born in the 80s and brought up in the 90s, and my parents did the best they could with what they had. Now there's different informations about things, and there's different strategies, and there's, different theories and all of that sort of thing that have changed the way that parenting is, or that you can change the way that you parent to suit you better. And so I just feel like I'm doing the best with what I have. It's not always perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but I'm doing my best, and that's okay. Because some of this stuff is so bloody difficult. And no matter which way you look at it, you're going to feel like at times you can't even, whatever you do is going to be wrong. Yeah. But you're doing the best you can with what you have. And I feel like,
and I think,
as long as,
I feel like that's exactly what we have to remember, is that, we're doing the best that we can with what we've got. And one thing that a friend said to me once, and it always sticks with me, is that our kids chose us for a reason. We're their best parent. we're the
cute.
best
I like that.
mum that they're ever going to have, and I don't know. I like that there is all of this information out there. There's no actual guidebook, or there's no checklist, like you said, but there is all this information that we get to choose kind of how we show up for our kids, or if there's something that's bothering us, we've got all this information at our fingertips and we can find kind of, because the manual that you have for your kids, if there was a manual, would be completely different to the manual that I have for my kids. And
That's right.
I love that there is so much information out there, but you don't need to take it all on board, or you can take little bits here and you take little bits there, and you're able to kind of build this weird looking puzzle that is just your family. And I love that in this generation that we've got that opportunity to be able to do that. You know, I feel like our parents were kind of flying blind and just doing what they seen growing up. And, you know, it was just like, yeah.
And it's like even as simple as, you know, when my babies were babies and we were, you know, joining the community health mothers group and things like that. And as it goes on and as our kids age, it's, you know, do you cry it out? Do you not cry it out? Do you co-sleep? Do you feed solids at 4 months or 6 months? It's all of that sort of stuff. And it's very easy to get bogged down in the, well, this expert says this is the way to do it. But what if that doesn't work for you? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like and like you said, there's so much of it. And sometimes it's really hard to block out the loudest voices that are trying to cram stuff down your throat saying you should be doing this and you should be doing that if you want a healthy baby, blah, blah, blah. I feel like you were saying, like, pick and choose. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. You know, like if you have a chat with a mum who's co-sleeping and you're not, you know, like all of that sort of thing, and all of the shoulds and all of the whatevers. And I just found once I was able to block out the noise and just choose the things that not made me feel good, but worked for us as a family unit, it just got so much easier.
Yeah. And not only taking advice for yourself or for what works for you, but what works for that child. Like, you're a mum of four.
Absolutely.
What works for your oldest may not work for your youngest. So, you know.
Yeah, and that's true. It's so true because, like, I did struggle after Penny was born. I had a really rough time, and I think, again, it came down to my personality and the way that I was. And I'd worked with children and families and early childhood and everything for so many years that as soon as people found out that I was having a baby, in the most lovely, like without any malice at all, people were saying, well, you're going to be such a good mum, and, you know, like, you've got you know all of these things and you're going to be so great at it. And then I had this baby and we came home and all she did was cry and vomit, and I was just like, oh my God, I am quite literally the most enormous failure because everybody told me and everybody thinks that I'm going to be so good at this, and I'm just not. Like, I am failing miserably. So that was really difficult for me at the time as well. Plus, added in, we'd just moved to Rockhampton. I didn't know anybody except my husband and his family, who were fabulous, but they weren't my family, and it wasn't... I hadn't known them for very long, and so as lovely and as welcoming and beautiful as they were and still are, it was really hard for me because I didn't have any close connections. So I did struggle with that for quite a while, but got through that and everything was fine. And then along came our second baby, and I was thinking rather foolishly to myself, you know, we've got this. Like, I had such a shitty time, but now I've got it all worked out, and this baby's going to come along and it's going to be perfect and there's going to be no problems. And then he was born and I was like, no, this was supposed to be the moment where I had all of it together, and like, then the shit just hit the fan again, and he was lactose intolerant, and, you know, all of this stuff happened, and I was just like, okay, great. So here I am failing at this again. But it was literally just because it was two different kids, two different babies, and you can't expect them both to be the same and for it just to be this, you know, cookie cutter box ticking situation.
Yeah, and it's such that mental note of like saying that to mums to be of putting that even without knowing that expectation on someone, and even you not even realizing at the time until and then you're like, oh shit, actually I'm not. This isn't going the way that I thought it was, and I believed that I was going to be a good mum, and now I'm questioning everything. And now the second one's come along. I've got to throw that book out because I thought I had my shit together, but actually, fuck, what's going on?
Like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and it was, like once like people say, oh, which was the hardest jump, between 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, whatever. For me, the easiest jump was from baby 2 to 3. Because I finally at that point was just like, oh, well, how they say, like, lower your expectations and then lower them a little bit more and you'll be fine. It was very much like that. And so by the time the fourth baby came along, we had zero expectations of anything. We were just like, righto, buckle in, let's do it. And I think that's really what saved my mental state, like postpartum after the third and the fourth, was that I was comfortable in the unknown and will just see what happens.
Yeah,
which is
I love that.
Difficult. I would virtually say impossible to do as a first time parent, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, and I love that. That like dropping of the expectations, which, like you said, as a first time mum is near impossible to do because your expectations are wild because you really have no idea at all. And even with your second, and God, if I ever went back and had another, I would not know where I was. So I do like I like that little reminder to that's what got you, what got you. What made the transition from 2 to 3 to 4 kids just a little bit more bearable, I guess, or a little not bearable. Definitely. I don't mean it like that, but like for your mental state. Just by lowering your expectations, and I think that's a lot on. Like we can apply that with a lot of things. Like I have. Or like I constantly look at my expectations and I'm like, why is it? And I'm making it about me because my expectations are up here at the ceiling, and actually this is where this is actually sitting. And
I think that perhaps, I don't know, like lowering your expectations probably doesn't sound, doesn't sound the best. But I think it's more of pay less attention to, the society's expectations, because when it comes down to it, that's what it is. You want to reach all the goals, and you want your baby to be hitting their milestones and to be sleeping through the night and to be doing all of that stuff, which is what society and the societal systems tell us should be happening. And so when they don't, that's when we start feeling like we're failing, not because we actually are, but because we're not meeting these impossible marks that, society has built for us. So perhaps instead of saying lower your expectations,
everyone,
I think it's probably
a hot
better
tip.
Expect
shit and then
expect the worst and then be happy when it doesn't happen. That's not what I'm saying at all.
No.
Don't put so much importance on what society tells you should be doing.
Yes.
Yes,
and
trying to
like
meet those impossible markers. Oh God.
Oh dear. I definitely I like that flip around and
reframe that, please. That's part of my training.
I really admire that ability for you to be able to kind of do that and go, actually, that's what I mean.
Not what I mean.
Let's put it this way.
Make that sound a little bit better. I think, but that's kind of like it's with this whole coming out of the cocooning thing. It's like I've lived basically the bulk of my life in that your initial thoughts or reactions are negative. And lower your expectations. Don't expect too much, and then you won't be disappointed. But as you know, as part of all of this growth and change and growing resilience and all that sort of thing, I am finding myself, and now it's becoming easier to actually look at it in a better way. Well, perhaps it's not just all about me. Like perhaps there's these systems and things in place that do make it harder, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I love that you recognize this part in yourself, like that you've chosen to pursue this helper part of you, the listener, the ability to be able to see this sort of thing. And now you're studying your Bachelor in Social Work, and I feel like it was just that natural step for you. And just talking to you in the way that you are able to articulate things and put them into perspective, I think it was just just this beautiful step for you to be able to go, actually, this is what I want to do. Tell me about the journey of studying, of backing yourself to believe in yourself that actually I'm at this point, I've got 4 kids, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start studying again. Like that couldn't have been an easy decision to make. So tell me a little bit about that.
I don't know. I feel like I should have this great big story of how I battled with my decision and then had an epiphany and it all fell into place. But it kind of
definitely
didn't really
not
happen. It kind of didn't really happen like that. It was, I don't know. It just felt like natural progression. Really, I started studying a diploma in counselling, and at that time I was super focused on wanting to help mums in the perinatal space. Just with all of that stuff that we've just been talking about, basically. And after the experiences that I had, I felt like perhaps that was going to be my thing. So it started with that. And then the more I learnt and the more things I was reading and coming across, social work just popped up on my radar. And I've always sort of thought that eventually I would, find a career path that was more than just, casual work here and there. And up until this point, that has really worked for me because I do like to be the mum that can, be present at all of the school things, assemblies and awards and all of the sports and activities in the afternoons. I really love being able to do all of that stuff too. So before now, the thought of locking myself into something full-time or super demanding was just not for me. When I came across this social work degree and realised that I could do it, the majority of it online, and I can do it part-time, and just the fact that it fit in to my life rather than me having to fit my life around something else. So I did and ah about it for a little while. My husband was really supportive of it. He's really supportive of everything I do. I could turn around to him tomorrow and say, I want to start a snail farm. And he would say, great idea, let's do it. So I'm very fortunate in that department. But yeah, so he was super supportive and I thought about it for a little while. And I came across a Mums Who Study group, and there was people in there sort of questioning the same things that I was. And one response just said, the years are going to pass whether you enroll or not. So why not just enroll and just get started? Because it was a bit of, but it'll take me 6 years or it'll take me this long. But the years are going to pass anyway. So why not just get started? And that's pretty much, I enrolled that day and, here we are.
Yeah, I love that. And digging into studying, part-time and having that motivation and all of that sort of stuff. Tell me, what's the thing that you're most proud of right now?
Probably in regards to the study, probably the thing that I'm most proud of is the results that I'm getting. Like, whilst I do have to, block out time to get my study done and to, do all the things that need doing, when I actually sit down to do it, I enjoy it. Like, I was going to say it gets me going, but that sounds weird. I really enjoy it. It's, it's not a chore for me to do it. So like the content for me is fascinating. The things that I'm learning, I can really see how that is going to help future me put that into practice. So that really helps me. And like I'm doing quite well. Like I'm getting good results, and I think that is also really helpful. I do have to pull the perfectionist side of me into line every now and then, and remember that I don't have to be, getting high distinctions in every subject. It's okay if I don't have the time to put in to get that, what people P's get degrees, which I am 100% on board with, and I love that. But I still do like to push myself that little bit, because I figure if I can do it, why would I not do it? Yeah. I don't know. I forget what the question was, so I hope that's answered.
Well, the question was, what are you most proud of? And
there you go.
Yeah. And I think that is something to be really, really proud of, getting the high distinctions, but also having that awareness of, that you can put that extra effort in, or not even extra effort, but you're getting the high distinctions, but you've got, because it lights you up so much, that I think that's where you can see that come across in your grades. And I think celebrating your high distinctions is such an important part. And I know that, you've messaged me when you've submitted something, you're like, I just didn't, it's a shit job, And then you message me, a few days later and you're like, high distinctions. It's like, didn't doubt it one bit.
No, I know. But yeah, and I think it's also, it's about, this term I started off enrolled in 4 subjects. And then just before the actual term started, I sat down and I talked to my husband about it, and I was like, I just don't think that I can give 100% and get the marks I know I can get if I'm doing this study load. And I don't know whether I should push myself and really burn myself out in these 4 subjects just to get those marks, or if I should just do the 4 subjects and just, take it as it comes and see what happens. And ultimately, the choice I made was to just drop back to 2 subjects, which is going to extend the length of my degree by 12 months. But at the same time, I'm actually rather happy with that decision, because I know that I can do those 2 subjects to the best of my ability. And I would rather be doing that than, than the 2 other options. So,
yeah. And I think that even that there is something to be proud of, to be able to look at that and go, okay, this is what do I really want out of this, and what's going to mean the most to me, and just to have that awareness, I think, is something you should be really proud of.
Yeah, thank you. Because up until now, I probably, well, not up until now, but up until, this cocoon business, I would have kept on with the 4 subjects, and I would have, people would have been saying, I don't know how you're doing it. And that's, all of those things that people say because, they mean it. And to me, before this, I would have been, I need to keep going with these 4 subjects, and I need to do really well. So all of these people who know that I'm doing 4 subjects think that I'm this amazing. And now I'm just like, what? I actually, big deal if someone knows I'm doing 4 subjects or doing 2 subjects, or if people... I could drop out of all of them together and just have a term off, and I'm still okay with that, because the validation that I'm getting now is from myself rather than from the external world. And I guess, mic drop, I'm getting my own validation. I don't need it from anyone else anymore.
Yeah. I love it. I
know.
Love
How
that.
good was that? That was total. Ooh, really nailed that one.
That was really, really good. And I think it brings us perfectly into my next question, which is, if there was a woman listening right now that feels a bit lost, or like she's been everything for everyone else and getting the validation for everyone else, what would you want her to know?
I think that being your authentic self is enough.
Yeah.
And I see you just the way that you are, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. It does.
I think it's more about it's all of the expectations and the timelines and the check boxes and all of that stuff that we are trying to achieve, and we lose ourselves in the process, and we forget what it is to be our authentic self.
And be okay with our authentic self as well.
Being okay with it, and being proud of it and loving it and showing up as that, and that being enough. I think if there's a way that you can work out how to do that, whether it's, and like you said earlier, you and I have kind of over the years come to the same conclusions, but in pretty different ways. We've gone different paths to get to basically the same conclusions. And I think whichever way that it takes you, whichever path you need to go down to come to that beautiful waterfall at the end where there's, sunshine and birds and rainbows and all of that, whichever way you need to do that, that's fine. However long it takes you, that's fine too. But if your ultimate goal is just to be your authentic self, then I think that's the most important thing. And that's enough, just the way you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I really do.
I just start talking and then next minute it's like, oh, hang on, I've just sent you 15, 10-minute voice notes.
Welcome to a look into our messenger chats, everybody. Bec, I'd love to know who is a woman that you admire, who you believe needs to be seen or heard or celebrated, probably most importantly celebrated, I guess, for any reason at all. But who's a woman that comes to mind that you admire?
So I know that I've spoken to you about one of them and you've actually met her, my friend Courtney Violet. She's a flight nurse with the Royal Flying Doctors. She owns multiple businesses. She does amazing things in the community. She fundraises and she raises awareness for things. She volunteers her little heart out. She's just an amazing human. The other one that I haven't said to you, but the other one would be Melinda. So my boss when I was governessing out there at Aramac. I was just thinking about her today and thinking about strong, authentic women who aren't afraid to be their true selves. The more I think about it, the more I think there were so many times that I witnessed her in social situations and just in general everyday life. She has always to me been someone who's not afraid just to make a decision and go with it no matter what anybody else thought, which I think is really admirable. Yeah,
I have to agree with both of those women. I have had the pleasure of meeting Courtney, and she's a fireball of fun. And
she's a firecracker,
she's a firecracker. But amongst that, the amazing things that in the short time that I met her, the things that I learnt about her, I was just again inspired, and I think it's women like her and like Melinda and like yourself that have been in my realm. I'm like, man, these women are just incredible, and I love that they're just out there doing their thing, and and there's women out there admiring them, and maybe they don't even know that, and I don't know, I just love that now women have a space to celebrate other women. And
absolutely, I love that too. And because you get, I don't know, you kind of get caught up, and I don't think I ever, like in all of the years that I've known Melinda, I probably have never said to her, I really admire you and the way that you live your life. But given this platform, it gives me the perfect opportunity to do that. Yeah.
I love that, and just between you and I, Melinda definitely was on my list of people to reach out on. So Melinda, if you are listening.
I've just dubbed you in.
No, I love that. And I think what I have taken away from this conversation, and I hope our listeners take away too, is that you don't have to stay who you've always been, and you're allowed to outgrow different versions of yourself, and you're allowed to change your mind, and you're allowed to stop being everything for everyone and start asking yourself and giving yourself permission to say, what do I need? And I think, Bec, that you are such a beautiful example of that. And I'm so grateful for you, and I'm grateful that you listen to my rambles, my waffles, and I'm grateful that I get to listen to yours. It's my drive to work, you know.
I know, right?
And sometimes it's a half an hour drive, and then I look down and I'm like, oh, I'm already at the school ready to pick up Marley, and sorry, thanks for listening.
Yeah, that is, I highly recommend getting on the Waffle Wednesday train. Like you were saying earlier, it's turned into just, like daily notes for us. But yeah, I do the Waffle Wednesday thing with a couple of groups of other friends as well. And it's just such a beautiful way to keep in touch with people.
It really is. And especially in this fast-paced world, and this everyone's so busy, and, when are we going to catch up for that coffee, and it's 20 years later or whatever. It's just such a nice way to go, this happened in my life today, and it might have been just something so mundane, but it's still important because it's still your life.
Shopping with me.
Oh, yes.
I was going around all the op shops and then reporting back to you when I got in the car.
Yes, that was for Halloween, was it?
Yeah, I think it was actually, yeah. But it's a fun way to connect and to still be in each other's lives when you're not in the same town. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely. I love the way, Bec, that you back yourself and you stepped into your purpose through your study and your role as a mother, and your relationship with Cody and your growth. It's all just so inspiring, and I love how you touched on earlier how we're kind of coming to the same conclusions. We're on on different paths, and we're different journeys, but we're getting to the same kind of realizations, and it kind of always happens to be around the same time.
It really does. Yeah.
It's so wild, but I love that our paths just kept on meeting back up, and we would lose touch a little bit, and then we would meet back up, and then we'd lose touch, and then we'd meet back up, and we never lost touch completely, but there was just little drops of here and there, and then just recently reconnecting again. I think that it's really just built that solid foundation, and I think a big thank you goes to the Waffle Wednesdays, because we kind of we kind of just open up in it, don't we? And it's I am just rambling about our friendship now, but it is. Yeah. It is a voice diary that talks back.
and it's even a bonus because someone else understands or just says, that's really stupid, what are you on about? Yeah,
exactly. I was about to say that, wake up to yourself, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm grateful that our pastors kept meeting, and I feel like I feel like I'm hanging out with my favorite version of you right now, and not that the other versions weren't amazing, but I just feel like at this point in our lives,
I'm so much better now,
except for that one version in 2004.
The one at your dad's house? Yeah, I didn't like her real much either.
But thank you so much for being here and sharing a little snippet into your world. And to the women listening, like Bec said, we see you, and exactly how you are is enough. So thank you very much, Bec. I love you, and I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, friend. Love you.
And that's a wrap on today's conversation with one of the women we know. If something in today's episode resonated with you, I'd love if you shared it with a woman in your life who might love it too. And don't forget to follow along so you never miss a conversation. And if there's a woman in your life that you know has a story worth sharing, I would love for you to nominate her at The Women We Know on Instagram or Facebook. Or shoot me an email at thewomenweknowpodcast@gmail.com. There's a dot in between each of the words, the.women.we.know.podcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening and being part of this community that celebrates her story, her resilience, her honesty, her triumph, her challenges, her life. We celebrate her.